It's the Schude Talk Show. Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Get started.
I know. Let's get started. So Amber Guymon with Guymon Law. Thanks for coming and sitting down and chatting with me because you're busy.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So I first, I guess, knew of you. No. When you started advertising in the Go Gilbert Facebook group that we run, and holy cow, your stuff's hilarious. I know you have help, right, with marketing because you've got all the things and stuff, but I think that we always use you as an example of just diving in and kind of getting the, read the room, right?
Right.
As far as with marketing and advertising, it helps to be creative and it's funny. Who doesn't want to laugh?
Right. I felt when I was preparing my advertising plan, with help, of course, I felt that, people just want to feel light, feel funny, have information in front of them that's not going to make them feel worse about their situation. Usually when we're working with people, they're not in a good place and going through a real difficult time in their life. The last thing they need is to hear me talking about community property and how much spousal maintenance you're going to pay and why your dog is not a child and it's just property, for example.
There's no joint custody.
I know.
Oh, that's so sad. I'd be take the kids, I'll keep the dog.
Right. I know.
Well, I remember because, I don't know, we're pretty ornery, but he'd be we'd be fighting, especially in our early 20s. We got married young, and he's like, well, if anything happens with us, I get the kids. I'm like, thank God. Is that a threat?
Yeah, please take them.
Exactly. I'm I'm going to go out and live my best life.
Right.
It's so funny, but you're so true. There's so much heaviness in the world, so that if you can add some humor to, like you said, a stressful situation, who the hell wouldn't be on top? And it's memorable, too, right?
Well, and also it's it is my personality.
Yeah,
I'm very informal in a lot of ways. I love my job. I love litigation. Trust me, I love being in a courtroom. There's nothing I love more. I can't sing and I can't act, so I can litigate. Yes. It's kind of my time to shine.
Were you the president of the debate club?
Not the president, but I love debate team. And, I did I was super nerd in high school. I was debate team, academic games, geography Olympiads,
nerds rule
math
the world.
Olympiads, even though I suck at math. But,
had to do it all.
But it's more my personality, and even with clients, that's part of the way I connect with clients is, some of my clients are a little bit more serious and formal, and that's fine, but I want them to feel comfortable. I'm down to earth. Yeah, I've been there, done this. I've done this for a long time. I was divorced when I was younger. So I just feel like it's a good way to connect. Humor's always a good way to connect and feel better.
Yeah. So did you grow up here in the Valley? Or?
I did not. No. I grew up in Salt Lake City. I moved here in 2001. I was 19 years old with a brand new baby.
Aww.
Moved here with my ex-husband.
Yeah.
And so I consider myself as from here now.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Or maybe only 10 years because I'm really not that old.
Yeah, so, I was going to say. Yeah, just a baby.
Yeah. So I love it here, though. So I moved here and went to law school with kids.
Did you go to ASU or?
I went to ASU for undergrad. I went to the private school that's no longer in Phoenix.
Okay.
Phoenix School of Law, they changed the name. Unfortunately, I had a great experience there. I was the second graduating class. We had a lot of professors that were judges and, more practical application than law school typically teaches.
Right.
But they were for-profit, made some bad decisions, and they are no longer. But I had a great experience there, and it allowed me to take care of my kids during the day, go to school at night.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because that's, law school, you can't work, really do anything, right? When you're in, or at least the first couple of years.
You're not supposed to.
Oh, okay.
However, here's me. I'm getting up at 4 a.m., going running, and then coming home, with a jogger stroller, of course. I didn't leave the kids home alone. And, coming home, getting things done, doing homework, working part-time, getting the kids ready for bed, making dinner for my ex-husband, going off to law school. I don't know how I did it.
Because you were married at the time.
Yeah, I would die if I had to do that right now.
Well, I think about that, and do you picture, your kids? I know you have two boys, right, in their 20s. Can you picture, either one of them doing that, doing what you did?
Absolutely not.
Yes.
In fact, my older son says, Mom, not everybody's like you. You know, because I'm like, come on, get things done. You know, get your college out of the way. You know,
if there's time in the day, like
hustle.
Don't waste.
Yeah.
I all the time. I just feel like our kids in that age, they just can't deal with the stress or something. Because I think about as much as, and I was more like in college and high school. I think about all the things that I did. Like even in high school, that I had a part-time job. I was dancing like 6 days a week. I had practice, and then I was, obviously like at school, like all the things. And oh my gosh, like my kids could never handle that, because I was like, oh well, as long as you have an extracurricular activity, like you don't need a job. And not that they were thinking about getting one, but all the things. But it's like if I wanted something and I wanted to go shopping, like my mom wasn't gonna she didn't have a credit card to hand over. I was like, oh, but I wanted all the new things. So I was like, it never occurred to me to be like not get a job, because of course I wanted to make my own money. At 16, I wanted to get my license, and then I wanted to get a job.
Right.
Like I was so excited to get a job.
I was excited to drive and have a job, and it took me the better part of 2 years to get my younger son to even want to drive.
That's a thing. I've heard that.
So bizarre to me. But I wanted to be out and about. Yeah. And I also wanted to, use work as an excuse to go play.
But at the end of the day, if you're working, then by all means play. It's when there's no work. Yeah. Right? I feel like
my parents didn't know.
Yeah. But I mean, if I was your parent, I'd be like, good job. It's that whole mentality, like work hard, play hard. Like I think you should reward yourself. But it's just different. So I think about it all the time. We were kind of talking about this, like it's so different having adult kids. Like when they were younger, oh my gosh, the sweet babies. Every phase, I'm like, this is my favorite. Like they're so cute. I love them. They're so sweet. And then I was like, and even as teenagers, they were so easy, so good. Like kind of just did what they wanted. Not as hard workers as us, of course. But then it's this adult. It's like they want to do their own thing, and it's like suddenly like our opinion as parents doesn't matter, and you're like, but I know I've seen this. I could have had the exact same situation. Let me save you from making the same mistakes I did. Like, but no, not into it, because we don't know anything, I guess.
And then also, I love this whole idea that we need time to figure things out.
Got to process.
I'm thinking, I never had time to figure things out. I just did it.
You mean like
I just took action.
Yeah.
It's
true.
And I decided, well, if I took the action, I went to college, I didn't like what I was doing, I guess I'd figure something else out to do.
But it's kind of like check it off the list, because that was my thing too. Even with college, it's like, well, yeah, you don't necessarily know, and I do think that it's hard to know at 18 years old, like what exactly you want to do, for sure. But that's kind of when you figure it out. You go to college and then you take classes, and you're like, oh, I wanted to be a high school teacher. I wanted to do secondary ed, and I remember I went to MCC before I went to ASU, and they showed me the little pay scale. And I mean, even then, I didn't know much about money, but I looked, and I over like it was like 15 years, and I saw where kind of you capped out. I'm like, well, you know what? I mean, I can't live on that. Like, so then I switched my, I was like, I'll do something else.
Right.
Yeah, but that's how you figure it out. Like, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
But you have to what you're saying, you have to dive in. If you don't dive in, you'll never figure it out. If you're just waiting.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of segueing to some of the things we work on at our office, an issue, kind of a more recent issue that I've been seeing in a lot of cases is, couples are divorcing, they have adult children at home. Our courts don't care about adult children. Yeah. Unless they have disabilities, of course, right? But, I hear from clients all the time, well, how am I going to afford, the college costs? Or my daughter's living with me and she doesn't pay rent and it's expensive. And I don't have an answer for that, because there is no legal I have an answer for that personally. Sure. Depending on the situation, I'll kick their ass out. I don't know. Exactly. But from a legal perspective, there's nothing, unless the parties agree, and want to, enter into contractual agreements, court's going to say, who cares?
There's not a formula for that.
Right. They're out of here,
That's fascinating and something I never would have thought of.
Right. So they're looking at, especially like in cases where there's spousal maintenance, right? Yeah. So for example, if you've got a party who's living with a child, they're spending a bunch of money on them, but the
adult child,
but the other party's asking for spousal maintenance, the court is going to say it's way more important that you pay the spousal maintenance than deal with your adult child. They can get a job. That's kind of the general attitude.
Makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to me.
But it is you have to be a little creative with it, because it is a component, and I think more and more so it's become a component.
Yes.
I think it was during the recession too. Yeah, it was a big problem during the recession, but I think right now I'm seeing a lot more of that again.
For sure, because it's so expensive, right? That's another issue. So it was COVID. We were talking about how like messed up kids or whatnot, and then it's so expensive to live. Like just being on the real estate side, a lot of 20-somethings aren't going and buying their first house necessarily, right? Things like that, and even for, I guess it's not a help if they live with you and they're not contributing, but I think about it even with the cost of living for, people in their 40s and 50s or whatnot, that's gone up. So you see a lot of combined like household incomes. Like we'll see people who are like, okay, well, like let's stop paying 2 mortgage payments. Let's just all live together, which they might be going to you soon after that.
Yeah.
Gosh. Those are... Yeah, it sounds great on paper, but in practice, you're like, oh, I forgot about all the emotions and all of that. Like maybe the numbers worked out, but there's more to life than numbers too.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you guys do specifically divorce or?
Yeah, so we handle all types of family law cases.
Which would be what?
So, it encompasses divorce, but one of my favorite things to do, and I do most of the work in our office on premarital agreements.
Oh,
so
fun.
I love premarital agreements. Sometimes, it depends on the person, but they can have a really negative connotation.
Sure.
From my perspective, I view them very positively. Yeah. It gives you more certainty about where you're headed with everything in the event something happens. And some people look at that as a very negative way of looking at things.
Wait, you don't trust me?
Right. But I do think, I look at a lot of the people who are getting divorced, and I'm thinking, if they had a prenup and they knew, for example, that there wouldn't be, or spousal maintenance would be capped or something, it might motivate people to work on themselves a little bit more. And I'm not saying people don't, but I'm just saying being able to have options and keep doors open, versus getting so entrenched in just supporting one part of the partnership or relationship. And
yeah, do you think that is money the number one reason for divorce typically, or not necessarily?
From my perspective, I think it is lack of compatibility, which
interesting.
Which relates money, having disagreements over money is just a symptom of that.
Okay.
Right? So I think it's just...
You're not on the same page.
Right. So, I think a lot of people get married to somebody that they're not compatible with in the first place. Maybe they get married younger. They think they are. They don't know yet.
Yeah. Because people change.
Or, there has been a good deal of clientele, for as long as I can remember, that, start aging in their relationship and, diverging on their ways. So I think, money problems, the, infidelity, that's all just symptomatic of not being compatible.
Mm-hmm. Because I was reading something and it's like, and that's true, right? Because it's the infatuation, the honeymoon phase sometimes lasts 2 to 3 years, right? And so then by then you could already be married. And I think the age thing is true. It's either you like grow up together or you grow apart because people change,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right. That's my ex-husband and I grew up together.
Yeah.
And it's just, we kind of just went on different paths, not meaning to, but it's just how it worked.
Yeah. So, well, and you said, so you have 2 boys, 24 and
20.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
So awesome. So, would you encourage them to wait to get married?
Yes. Well, I don't think either of them are in the mindset to get married yet, but yes, I've just encouraged them to wait. And I have focused a lot, just as a parent, on, hey, you got to make sure this is a really good fit for you, and take the time to really vet it out and make sure your ideas are similar, where you're headed for your future together. And of course, I'm a little bit wild, always consult the zodiac.
And see, well, it's crazy. So Mike and I dated since we were 16 or whatnot, and I still remember I was in some bookstore in the mall, probably Fiesta Mall, and yeah, I know, and it was like a birthday book, and it was a zodiac thing, and so I looked up
that book.
It was fascinating, and so I was flipping through, and so I pulled up it was a Taurus, and I pulled up myself as Aries, and it said, these two should never get married. Absolutely not. This is a disaster. It's like the ram and the goat or something. Like they will buck their horns. And I was like, I'll go for it.
Well, it's way more complicated than that, because you got to know like your moon sign and your rising sign and your placements. Like, how do we communicate, or what's my love language? Well, that's where your Virgo is. So I'm silly. Our intake specialist at the office, the first person that answers the phone.
Do they ask?
No.
What's your sign?
She'd like to.
That'd be hilarious.
But her and I spend a lot of time like, oh my gosh, can you believe, because we have people's birthdays. Can you believe this match, on the Zodiac? Like, this is really fascinating.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, do you ever get like, okay, so, I have so many questions, but do you have like more female clients, more male clients, would you say?
It really ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And it kind of depends. So I've started taking more kind of the high asset financial cases, and I get kind of a mix. When I first started my practice, I was like 27 or 26 or something, and it was during the recession, so I hung my own shingle. It was not a pretty time.
Yeah,
but I was just hustling, trying to get clients. I'd go to happy hour, hand out my card, and my first few clients were men, and so I got a lot of referrals to other men, to other men. So for a while, I had just all male clients, and I thought, was it going to stay like this forever, maybe? But over time, it kind of balanced out. It really depends. I think a lot of it is referral source.
Sure.
So, it just depends.
So speaking of that, you were your one-woman show, right, for a while, or how long did you?
Yeah, I started in 2009. I think I hired a part-time assistant in maybe 2010, 2011, and then, just started adding from there. Hired my first attorney. I was so busy. I had way too many cases, and as much as a hustler as I am, I thought, I don't want to ever drop the ball. So I hired my first attorney, I believe, in 2017.
Okay.
And then you started growing some more from there. Just, it seems like the work just always is there.
Right. Like, the divorce rate is probably only climbing. Right.
Seems so. Yes and no. I think a lot of people aren't getting married now.
Oh,
there's that whole statistic of 20s-ish that don't see as much benefit in it. Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe they should call me anyway for a cohabitation agreement.
Oh, yeah? Do you do those?
Yeah, we could do those. It's a contractual agreement. But, yeah, so, kind of back to your question, but family law, we represent clients in divorce. We also do juvenile work, so severance and adoption, termination of parental rights. Done that for a long time. We do some guardianships, conservatorships. Family law, in the sense of the word for what I'm talking about, does not include wills and trusts.
Okay, sure.
So we don't do any of that kind of work. However, family law, we're always interfacing with wills and trust attorneys, tax attorneys, business attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys.
I bet.
You have to know
things.
Yeah, you have to know a lot in family law. I think it is the toughest area to practice. And when I started, I practiced basically all areas. But it is a really tough area.
Well, emotionally, I would think.
Well, I'm just talking about all the things you need to know.
Oh, I'm
it's
about
like
feelings.
Yeah,
you're like, no, I don't care about those. No,
I do. It's just, it's.
It encompasses everything.
It does.
Your whole life. Really around people.
So doing like the high asset casework, it's we're dividing a lot of businesses. So it's valuing a business and all the mechanics that go along with that. But then, yes, the high conflict, child related cases, which in the course of my career, those have been the most fulfilling cases to me, where there have been some really, not just your everyday little complaint problems, but like some serious domestic violence and being able to help families.
Yeah.
So those have been very fulfilling, but it can be, emotionally challenging. You have a lot of sympathy for people going through it, especially if you've been through it. And a lot of circumstances are outside people's control.
Sure. Things happen in life. Because I was thinking about that, because you're basically, aside from, I'm thinking more towards like the spousal and the divorce, like it's just always an argument, right? Like it's just got to be a little bit taxing. I think about, we, work with divorce situations too on the real estate side. And that's just one portion of it. And so, and even with real estate, like you get transactions where it's like you're just arguing with no one's happy, everyone's arguing, you know. I think about that. And then we kind of get a break, because then you'll have like transactions that are like so smooth and everyone's happy and it's like so fun. And buying and selling houses is so fun. But I think on like the litigation, how you were saying you do a lot of litigation, I mean, you're kind of always arguing, do you feel like? Or not necessarily? Is it sometimes easier? Do you have those cases where maybe it's more amicable or?
Right. I would say, like, for example, my most recent trial was a complex case. We had a lot of issues. I encourage my employees, my teammates, and I myself to take we take a collaborative approach in the beginning. You should always try to settle your cases. It's really best emotionally, financially. But there are a lot of cases that either you just can't settle, or you have, an opposing party that's really, emotionally entrenched in so much that they can't be reasonable, or they have an attorney that doesn't encourage them to be reasonable. That is not us.
They're worried about their ego over their client.
Well,
maybe.
And the money.
Yeah. Oh, true. Because the longer it goes, right?
Right.
Per hour.
So, but that, in my most recent case, all these things, the other attorney and I were able to really pare them down to very, of let's say 30 issues, like 5.
Oh, wow.
So we still had to go to trial on five issues, but it's much better than going to trial on 30 and risking, the judge maybe making errors, especially when there's a lot of detailed math and different arrangements. So we like to take a collaborative approach at the office. I mean, it really is better to try to settle. And
even with the other parties, which is good.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we do a lot of like informal settlement conferences. So if you have a good working relationship with the other attorney, bring them to the office. I prefer caucus style still, where my client and I are in a separate office, opposing party and their attorney are in a separate office, and we're kind of, attorneys are going back and forth trying to help them.
Keeping the client separate.
Yeah. It's very rare when you've got a client and their soon-to-be ex, then they say, oh, we're great meeting together, Yeah.
They probably wouldn't have attorneys then.
Right, well, yeah. Or they'd come and say, hey, here's our agreement, please draft it.
Right, well, right.
So,
well, true, yeah. I mean, you always need an attorney. Duh.
Right. So, I mean, but the emotional component is really important, because I have to work with my client and I have to understand why they feel the way they do and why they're, where their mindset is and how they're making decisions. And sometimes if I can get to the why, which is usually like stemming out of some sort of fear, if I can get to the why with them, it makes the case go much more smoothly, because I can try to help them understand,
and overcome that fear.
Right.
That makes sense.
To the best of my ability anyway.
Yeah, because people are, and not saying anything about your clients, but just everybody as a general, I think people are crazy.
We're all a little crazy.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's people are crazy for sure, all crazy. I'll include myself definitely in that, but there's just a portion of us who are more self-aware. Right. I feel like that. And that's super helpful, because I'll say stuff and I'm like, well, that was really dumb. Or I sound like a hypocrite. It's like my worst fear if I'm like telling someone or something at the office and I'm like, well, I literally just didn't do that. But I think that's the difference, because people that are self-aware, own up to him, I made a mistake. Let me just put that on the table. I'm always like, if it's someone's fault, let me check myself first. Right.
Which I'm the same way.
Yeah, where I think there's a lot of it. And then I have even agents at our office, and I'm like, the first thing they'll say is hey, I have a problem, from the broker trying to be the problem solver. And, but the first thing they come with they come across like they did nothing wrong immediately. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, let's dial that down. Let's walk through that. And I don't want to be the one being like, well, you screwed up. But let's talk it through, and maybe you can come to that realization that maybe you didn't handle that. You probably should have. But do you ever meet people like that? They are always right. And even when they're talking, you're like, do you hear yourself? But I wish I had some of that, because I'm always going to go inside first. Well, could I have done it differently first? Before I'm going to come to you with a potentially a problem, I'm going to be self-aware. I don't know. That's why I feel like we're kind of missing some of that.
Right. Well, and you have to deal with each client a little differently. Yeah. So, it is nice when you have clients that are self-aware and they're willing to improve. Really a fun thing for me to see when I am representing a client who hasn't had as much life experience. They've been married a long time, maybe, in certain ways. Yeah. It could be, finances. It could be confidence. It could be you name it. But to see them really grow through the process, and that is super fun for me.
So fulfilling, I bet.
Right,
like, oh
absolutely.
my gosh, yeah.
But on the flip side, I do represent a lot of clients who do think they're right. And again, it's just getting to the root of, okay, like, understanding them, but then also at times laying the smack down and telling them that's not what the law says. I can't let you take that position. If you take that position, you're going to be paying attorney's fees. Trust me, you're going to be sorry.
Yeah.
So I have to be a little bossy sometimes.
Well, for sure. And it's nice as an attorney, for sure. Like you're representing like on behalf of your client on the real estate side. It's like we can give you all the information, but as long as it's not illegal, we'll give you all the information. And then we are fiduciary to you. So then we basically just have to like represent you and tell the other side what you say. But it is kind of hard because you want to be like, I don't think that's the right choice. But
well, and two, it goes to your reputation before the court, right? And that affects all of our clients. So if anyone in my firm is taking unreasonable positions, it's going to look bad on the firm. So that's something we talk about in the firm, and another reason we really try hard to settle all the issues we can. And there have been times where with some of the other attorneys in my firm, I've stepped in and said, no, they're right. You do not want to do this,
Oh, for sure.
It's not going to turn out well for you. A
little backup.
Yeah, and usually people are pretty open to listening, even when they think they're right. Yeah. Which is nice.
For sure, and that's why they hired you, right?
Right, absolutely.
If you can do it on your own, then do it on your own.
Well, don't do it on your own.
No.
Entirely, right? Because I've had way too many people prepare their own documents. I always joke that if I put these self-service forms that are on the court's website, on my website, I'd get sued for malpractice, right?
Yeah.
They just aren't detailed enough in a lot of cases, and there's some nuanced things that individuals just don't know what they don't know.
For sure.
So, for example, we have a legal paraprofessional that works with us. It's kind of like what you would consider...
Like a paralegal? Or
No, more like a nurse practitioner to a doctor. So it's kind of in between.
Okay.
So she can represent clients in court. There are a couple different issues over which she cannot, like division of a business. But otherwise, she can do everything that I can do. But we bill her at a lower hourly rate.
Okay.
And
so she's an attorney.
Essentially, but they are called legal paraprofessionals.
But she didn't go to law school?
No.
Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
I mean, she went to school, but just not law school.
Okay, gotcha.
And so, but it's a great option for individuals, so, that just want their paperwork done. Mm-hmm. Hey, we have a full agreement. So I really encourage people to, have their documents professionally prepared so that they're not missing anything. There's no issues in the future. And there's things that some individuals just don't think about. Like, oh, well, we're going to sell a rental property.
Yeah.
Well, what about the tax consequences of that? Not that we give tax advice, but just, hey, maybe
talk to your
tax professional. Yeah. Right. And so we can incorporate proper language in your documents.
Speaking of that, so are you seeing a lot of people trying to use AI for legal advice? I mean...
Don't get me started on that one. Yes. So... Luckily, most of our clients do not. We have had, some clients...
They're like, Amber, but Chat said this.
No, really. But ChatGPT says we can do this. Well, that is not what Arizona law says, right? And, but I think the worst is that when parties are representing themselves, so we're representing a client, the opposing party is unrepresented, they're doing everything through ChatGPT. Sure. Well, it's hallucinating cases. It's taking positions that aren't consistent with Arizona law. It's making just crazy arguments,
Oh, my gosh.
And it's, we can't give the opposing party legal advice. But the unfortunate part is, we got to bill our client to address crazy motions that make no sense.
That should have never happened.
That should have never been filed, but you still need to respond, So you ask for attorney's fees, but, sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't.
Oh,
sometimes the court orders it, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, AI is still, I think there's ways it can be used in the legal field, like improving writing and so forth. But you can't have it draft for you. And in fact, we've had unfortunately issues in Arizona with attorneys who have lost their license for relying on AI.
Oh, wow. So they're just relying on AI before they give legal advice to their clients?
Well, there's some certain circumstances, but, you can't rely on it for case law. And, if you want it to draft something for you, more power to you, but you better be going through and editing and making sure it's right.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah, so we have pretty strict rules at our office about how we use AI and how we do not.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. What's speaking of your cases, what's one of the craziest cases you ever had to like just a family case, or is there anything been like?
Well, so unfortunately, I have, ethical duties. I can't share any details of any case.
Oh, not even just no names?
No.
Oh.
I know. I'd love to write a book. Oh, I would love to write a book.
Really? Even if you, so that's interesting. I thought maybe you could say, well, I heard of this happening.
I mean, I can tell you things that have happened to me, because it's kind of not necessarily related to the case, but, in my career, I've had opposing parties come into my office and, threaten staff. I've had, I've had an opposing party try to attack me, follow me. Way back in the day, I had an opposing party, put in writing to the court that, I was sleeping with the judge. Oh my. And I must have stolen his stamp because he was stamping his signature on orders, which was common at the time. They use a stamp, you know? Oh, and so, gosh. Or like, I've also had an opposing party like take an image of me and like make it look like I'm drinking, doing drugs.
Oh my gosh! Well, that's AI probably too now. That's going to be easier,
right? And I do have a pretty big concern about the threat of parties creating financial documents through AI and how we're going to be able to distinguish between that and a real financial document.
Oh, because they're just going to make cook the books or whatever.
Right. We can always subpoena banks and so forth, but what about a letter from a hospital or a doctor? What are we going to subpoena them? Well, is the party going to sign a HIPAA? Is the court going to allow us to get this? So there are some situations I'm really worried about the use of falsified documentation.
Yeah, it's interesting. That actually happened to us in our office. It was an agent had a proof of funds letter that was done, but it was done through AI. It was forged.
Great.
So same thing, saying that they had a couple $1 million. Ended up being a fake letter. So I could see that. Yeah. Happening.
Or even worse, our legislature we had some changes to our domestic violence statute that it's a reflection of a changing or increasing concern about the seriousness of domestic violence, but I think it's going to overreach in some ways.
Yeah.
And kind of be a detriment. But notwithstanding, what I'm saying is I'm concerned about individuals using, taking an audio recording of their partner's voice, for example, and creating something that's entirely false and
Well, that's happening now where people are, especially the elderly, they're calling.
Right.
Like they'll capture your voice and it'll be like, I'm stuck, I'm stuck in Kansas and I can't get back. I ran out of gas. Can you just send me money to my Venmo? And, and they're always the most susceptible, aren't they? Like the elderly, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, of course I want to save Ann, and so we're seeing that too with like people just grabbing onto people's voice. It's just, I don't know. I wish there was a way to like use AI so it could be helpful and beneficial, but then to stop.
Right.
But I think it's just going to go on. I mean, they just keep talking about how AI is going to take over and no one's going to have a job, right? And then we're all going to be on just like an income, like a livable wage. Everyone's going to, I don't know. I think the next 5 years are going to be fascinating.
They are going to be fascinating, but I do think there's a really big faction of people out there that have this same concern. Mm-hmm. And I can't help but to believe that they are working on some sort of AI double check of some sort to be applied. I really hope that, as a society, we can do that in the good of all humankind.
I know, but then it's past few years, I don't know, like my hope has gone down.
I know. It's hard to stay hopeful.
Because, you talk about like, oh my gosh, I just heard on a podcast that Kevin O'Leary from like the Shark Tank or whatever, he's building a data center. I think it might be in Utah, actually.
I heard that.
Yeah,
yes.
And it's talking about the data center. And then so he was talking about AI and his whole thing is like can we have, I can't remember. I can't remember whose show he was on, but can we have some guardrails? Can we have some things so that like we're not, shooting ourselves in the foot and it's not taking over, and replacing like humans and all that stuff. And he just kept saying, but what about China? Because China's going to do it, and China's going to do it. And we cannot let China beat us. And I yes, for sure. But at the end of the day, that's to me making a decision on fear, right? Like not doing what's best for the country. Because at the end of the day, China's going to do what China's going to do, right?
They always have and always will.
100%. And they probably make some smarter choices than we do. So it's like at the same time, but like what are we doing here to if China, what they just might win the AI race or whatnot, but. I thought it was really interesting. So I hope so too, but I just think the amount of like power and greed and I just don't know if people actually, you've got this section of the elite and the powerful and that they all hang out together, and then I feel like here's us at the bottom, and it's like, are they looking out? Because at the same time, like whatever makes them more powerful, more money, are they going like, oh, that Ann Schude, like she's got a good heart, maybe we should try to protect her livelihood and her job and her quality of life, but I don't know.
So the way I think about AI, so my interest in AI is really as a business owner, and it's because especially being I'm a small business, right? There's, I think, 16 of us. So, not big, definitely not big. For me, it doesn't feel small, right? It's a lot of work. Yeah. But my interest in it is, as a smaller firm, I'm competing with big firms. And it's been insane over the last few years what these big firms are offering to pay staff, and...
Oh, you mean a lot.
Or like, and so for me, it's an interest in how can I make things more efficient with the people I have so that I can continue to pay them better and be competitive, because my people are like my family, and I don't want to let them down, and I see the world changing, I see this trend, and I'm like, not that I'm fully joining them, but I want to use it in a way that's what's important to me.
100% from like an effectiveness and time management and systems and processes, and not only for your business, like because we use the same thing, and then even for your client experience, right? It can make that even better. So there's so much good, and I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now, and then we're kind of teetering. But I agree, because same thing with small business as well as maybe you can't compete with, because there's these huge companies and they have like endless amounts of money, deep pockets or whatnot, and probably like some hedge fund money that's into everything or whatnot. But if you can provide value and that family experience where they actually know you and they care about you, know about your kids and all of that stuff, I think there is something valuable, maybe even more valuable than money. But I agree, like making their experience during the day as good as you can.
Yeah, and I'm just grateful that like all my team members really trust me, because there are some of my team members that are really nervous about AI.
Yeah.
So
like, how's that gonna go? Yeah, because that's just that for all the reasons that you mentioned.
Right. Yeah. So I think they're a little worried. So I try to do, as we're building, and implementing different things, I try to really talk it through and explain why, and help them understand kind of the business sense of it. Because I want to continue to be able to be competitive and have them well compensated, and
For sure. Do you want to grow your business, or do you like where it's at right now?
So, every day is a new day. There's been a bit of a challenge in hiring attorneys.
Okay.
So like I said, it's a very competitive market. And I'm very picky about the people I hire.
It used to be like that was when I was, and this is a long time ago, many years ago, but I remember I was going to something. I was in college at the time, and I was considering going to law school, and they kept saying they wanted to shut down ASU's law school because there was already a law program at U of A, and we don't need two. Like, it's so it's just so interesting because there was a plethora of attorneys. But so it's interesting they say that. So there's not right now, huh?
Well, there may be, but I'm telling you, the big firms are, and they're very aggressive too. I think they use very unethical tactics. My staff is getting solicited all the time from firms. And there's nothing, I don't do that. I never have. I like things to happen organically. I think that people come to you and, at the right time, and it's the right place. I'm a big believer in that, and I think that's why I have staff members that have been with me since 2009, 2012. 2016, because they're the right fit. And
Right.
I don't want to just hire whoever, I want them to be the right fit, feel comfortable, have longevity. I want it to be beneficial to them, and I want it to be beneficial to everybody on the team.
Well, because I guess you could have that mentality where you could just be recruiting nonstop, right? And you could just be like feeling your pipeline and feeling all, and because then they know people and they're bringing people in, so it could be very lucrative. But what does that do for culture, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also, they have to have the same mindset. Are you a team player? Are you settlement oriented? Are you going to interact with the staff well and treat everybody like family? Yeah. Some people don't want that. Correct. And that's fine. Some people are big firm people. Out of necessity due to recession, but I am just not, even so, I'm not a big firm personality. And I think even notwithstanding that was when I started, I would have had my own firm. I just am not big firm.
Yeah. It's different. I don't know. I think, and there again, as we go more with the AI, and I think that we are going to see a pushback, and people are going to want those interpersonal experiences. Right. And I think that we're human, and that's how we were literally wired. So I think that's a safeguard. It's inherent amongst us. Yeah.
I'll tell you this. It's been interesting. So, during COVID, all the changes, we luckily were already set up. We could work fully remote, so forth. But we did a lot of consults, obviously electronically for a long time, but. As soon as kind of the fear of COVID was over, everybody wants to meet in person. And I think there's a huge benefit of meeting in person. I much prefer it any day. And I much prefer working in person. Yeah. I try to be super flexible with staff. So we have some hybrids. We have some people who work from home some days and so forth. But I think there's such a huge benefit to being together and, FaceTime with clients, FaceTime with each other, being able to uplift each other, in a field that's really difficult, or clients who are going through a difficult time, kind of difficult to do electronically, in my opinion.
For sure, even with Zoom, right? Because you feed, if you're doing the Zodiac, then you probably feed off of people's energy too. And so you can feel that energy that I don't know you necessarily would be able to feel off of clearly like a phone, but like Zoom or whatnot, it's just different, right? You can feel people's energy and kind of...
You just can connect so much better in person. And I really like to get to know my clients, like I was saying, and know who I'm working with so that I can try to tailor the process to them. Yeah. There's clients that they just need you to touch base more. Maybe they have a little more anxiety. So, picking up on those cues. Because most people aren't going to come out and tell you that.
Right. Hey, by the way,
I'm really anxious, and I'm going to freak out at every email I receive from you, and I'm not going to read it. And,
exactly.
So I can get a little bit better feel in person, and it really helps me to help them, which in turn just helps the whole process.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I think people are wired differently. Like Mike he could work from home all day, every day, and be in his recliner. Like he's got a whole setup: recliner, pillow, blanket, like a monitor, on the little side table on his computer.
I'd be like,
my gosh.
I should go do the dishes.
100%. There's too much.
I can't do it.
Oh, no, not at all. And I get bored. I could do it for like one day. Yeah. Still wouldn't be productive because I'd do the same thing, like, especially now. House is a disaster. But I like a day, and then I'm like, but I need my people.
Me too.
Because then I feed off of them. I need to be in an office where people are on the phone and people are like, oh, what, just like shooting the shit. And like, how was your day? Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Or talking about, especially because you have, attorneys that work for you or whatnot. And like, if there's an issue, like if I'm going through something or if I have a question, I would want to just walk in and be like, hey, Amber, like, this is what's going on. But I wouldn't take the time necessarily to, like, pick up the phone. And then I hate the phone. Like, the phone is the worst thing. So I am with you, too. And not everybody's wired that way. But you're in an environment, and that's what it matters who you surround yourself with, right?
Absolutely.
And so and for them, too. And so those are probably the people you're attracting anyway.
Yeah. And just, I like, when clients come in, I like them to, meet the paralegal they're working with, meet our staff, because, I've selected staff who I feel like are a good representation of me. Yeah. We're not all perfect all the time, and we do have a little bit different personalities and approaches, but, I trust them. Right. And, and they're good at helping take care of people and build confidence and help them feel more comfortable, throughout the case.
Well, for sure, because you can't be like everywhere all the time, right? So,
I'd like to be.
Yeah, just clone yourself. Like,
oh my gosh, I don't know how many years I've spent trying to do that.
Yeah, well, that's why you just have leverage and have great people.
Yeah.
And you attract like great people. Well, and you're such like an outgoing and funny person, then you're most likely to attract those people, I would think. Like just when you like have friends or whatnot, I feel like you're
absolutely
typically going to attract. It was so funny. I was at dinner. I didn't even tell Mike this. We were at dinner last night because we tend to eat out every night when the kids aren't there. So I don't know. I just can't cook. Maybe that's why. But and I'm lazy
or
at
maybe
that
you don't
stuff.
want to.
No, I don't. Like,
yeah, I know.
It's terrible. And dishes.
And it's hot. And who wants to do that?
For sure. And Mike's I could go without eating sometimes because it's so hot out. But Mike's always looking for his next meal. So it's like a constant, like, what's for dinner? What's for dinner? But it was so funny. So we were sitting at a table with just the two of us. And then it was like a sushi place. So the tables were like really close to each other. And there was just two friends like having dinner or whatnot. And I was like, it's so cute to, I don't know, like friendships or whatever. But then I kept thinking, gosh, they are really boring.
Yeah.
I was like, that is the most boring, because I could hear everything that they were saying. And the whole time I was like, I'm so glad that my friends are funny.
Yeah.
Because I like to laugh. Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it's not a dig on them because they were having the time of their lives, I'm sure. But I was like, oh my gosh, like I need more. I need more from people. Give me more.
Well, it's funny because whenever like I start a case, let's say I'm in a consult with an individual, the case hasn't been filed yet, I do ask a lot of questions about the other party's personality because I do believe that as like, I don't say this to the client because it's just one of my little, quirks, I guess.
Yeah.
I like to, well, one, it helps me with the case, but two, I like to know kind of what their personality's like because I can kind of predict what kind of attorney they're going to find.
Oh, interesting. So not only their personality, but their attorney who you're going to be.
Right, because you think about it, that they're attracting like energy typically as well. Not always. I mean, there are some kind of outliers, but typically if you've got a party that's really difficult and just angry and wants to just be nasty, they're going to find an attorney that isn't very interested in settling.
Oh, that's such a great way to. I never really would have thought about that. Do you work with the same like opposing attorneys often, or is it?
It's a pretty small field.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with all the attorneys and the LP in our office, there's a lot of overlap, right?
Yeah. So then you kind of know ahead of time sometimes what you're getting. You're like,
right,
and then you're like, now I know how this is gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember, I don't know what made me think about this because I think I was thinking about talking to you. Do you remember when attorneys couldn't advertise at all on TV?
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes over the years.
I remember my mom was a paralegal for, she did in-house counsel for State Farm or whatnot. And so then they always went against like the Jacobian Ryers and like
the bigger firms.
The plaintiffs or whatever. Oh my gosh, she would complain about them. I just remember the first commercial that came on the TV for, it was one of the what am I trying to say?
Personal injury firms.
That's the one.
Yes.
And she was just so funny. She was just like, oh my gosh, like couldn't get over it. Like that was so bad for the profession or whatnot. But I mean, maybe some are. But
well, even with the change in allowing LPs to practice in a limited scope, the whole purpose.
LPs.
Legal paraprofessional.
That's what you were just talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
So the purpose behind this was to improve access to justice. So that they could offer, lower cost legal services. Whether that's happened or not, I'm not going to tell you because there's some LPs that charge a lot.
As much as an attorney?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like I said, we bill our legal paraprofessional at a little lesser hourly rate, but she's phenomenal. She is a go-getter, man. She is just, she's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say enough good things about her, but everyone was really negative about legal paraprofessionals. But again, you got to look at how things are changing and try to use it in a positive way. And she's been a hugely positive addition to our office, Yeah. So it's just interesting, like how things change over the years. And, I always just try to take a positive approach to the changes. I don't like them all. I mean, the LP one I was fine with, but, there's some like they allow us to have a non-attorney business partner, and I have kind of mixed owners of firms, right? I have kind of mixed feelings about that because I think it allows a lot of kind of like venture capitalists to get involved where they don't have care or concern for the client.
Well, that's what we're seeing. Kind of, it's the money, right? It's whatever there's money, and it's just with like my friends that own dental practices and all. It's just like it's wherever the money, and they're trying to just kind of jump in on all of that. Even on the real estate side, you have big firms like Open Door and OfferPad, and you're like, well, they've lost how many billions of dollars or whatever, but that's their business model,
right?
So like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But the money is adding up somewhere to someone, I guess.
Exactly.
Isn't that crazy? But then you think about the same thing from a culture standpoint, right? Are they really caring about anyone? No.
Right.
No, they're just seeing a way to like make some money.
Right.
Probably.
Well, one of the individuals that helps me with marketing was really insistent that I do billboard advertising, and I fought him tooth and nail. I'd rather be anonymous, okay?
Yeah.
I'm good,
Yeah.
I want to go have a glass of wine at a bar, and it'd be great if nobody knows me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And, and two, I just don't really love seeing my face that big. Who does?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some people do, I don't,
Right.
But, and I've kind of associated that with, turn 'em, burn 'em firms, and, he sold me on it. He's like, no, we're going to make yours, more appealing in like a, like the background, how you look, more, open and genuine, authentic.
Just showing like your personality more, and that you're a real person.
Yeah, so I let him do it for a while. I was like, okay, we did that for a while, and it's great. Drove traffic to the website, and
cool.
I was like, let's take a break from it for a while. I'm really sick of seeing myself on the highway.
Was it one of those electronic?
Yeah,
yeah. Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
So it was in like multiple spots, but I can't tell you how many people, friends of mine, former clients. Oh my gosh, I saw you on a billboard. This is so cool, and I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow.
But it's just so funny. The things you associate with that. But people who know me know I'm super down to earth. I'm not really, I do this for people. Yeah. And the same with like running a business. I don't do it for money. If I did, have a lot more money.
Yeah.
But
right.
But I'm just, that's just people who know me know that's, but it's more about building the firm and the people that I've added in.
Well, right. And you think about it, like if putting myself out there on a billboard brings traffic in, then that's money for the business and supporting like the families. Like I think that's the best part about, in my opinion, business owner is being able to watch other people thrive and watch their lives change and more opportunities for them. And so I think that's just one. So you were just like a sacrificial lamb. Yeah. Putting yourself out there like, this is for my people.
I'm gonna start telling people that I was only on the billboard to be a sacrificial lamb. Okay, that's it.
I mean, right, if it brings more income to them, like, hey, you should get that other billboard. Did you see that movie I Love You Man?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I always think about where he oh my gosh, Jason Segel.
That was so funny.
So funny. It was so true, but same. That's why I picture you.
How funny.
Were you, in a cowboy hat or no?
Yeah, no, and I love doing things that are going to promote my staff. Like I said, all our attorneys are super great, and our LP's super great. And so a lot of times I'll do like, because I can't take all the cases.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I've also got to run a business that's going to help everybody else give a good client experience. And so I have to really balance my time, but I'll sit in on consults with my other attorneys. I have some just fantastic attorneys. So, but it helps people see, oh wow, we are very synergistic in the office, and we work together
fully as a team.
Yeah, and I'm not an absent person. I'm in the office. I'm available. So
yeah, I love that. Well, it's leadership, right? And so, and that's one thing. I got this book, but I haven't read it yet. But it's Exit Without Selling. I don't know if you've. It's a new. It got good reviews, and I haven't read it yet. And honestly, it might just sit on my nightstand forever.
I have big goals.
Yeah, exactly. I have books everywhere, all over my house. It's like osmosis, but it's kind of true. Like, how do you That's from also like owning a business. Like, that's my dream, is to be able to like have an office that like fully runs itself, and everyone's a great reflection of the brand and all of that. But then to come in and do those things and just kind of be more a fly on the wall-ish, but still be there and be present and be like, I want to be the support staff. Like, how can I help you?
Right. And that's why, to me, slow growth in a firm is important. So when you ask me, do I want to grow? Yes, but it has to be mindful, slow growth with the right people.
Right.
And and it has been, a little slower than I wanted it to be, maybe, but again, you want to do it in a way that is beneficial to the whole team.
Well, it's strategic.
Yeah,
right?
Beneficial to the whole team and the clients. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, because you think about, and then I feel like you make a bad hire, and then it kind of sets you back, right?
Yeah. Because
I'm assuming you've made, not everyone's been a perfect hire.
No, I'm perfect. No,
and so are my people.
No, I'm a really good judge of people, and I'm a people lover, and I'm also willing to work with people through certain issues
to train them up.
Right. If you're willing to learn and you're a hard worker and you have a good attitude, that is more important than any legal knowledge any day, because
you can teach that.
It's teachable, but you can't teach good manners. You can't teach a personality, right?
Yeah, not very well, right?
But I feel like I'm a good judge of people, but every once in a while I've had one that I'm like, I think they're great, and then they come in and I'm like, well, pump the brakes on this. They're not fitting into this culture. And because I have so many team members that have been with me for a long time, they're looking at me like, what did you do? Yes. I'm like, I promise. I'm usually like 90% of the time good here.
It can't be perfect. Yeah.
So then I and I've changed our hiring process over the years. Yeah. So it used to be just me, but now they are like going through all these steps, and I'm like, so see, it's not just me. This person got through all these other steps and individuals as well.
For sure. Yeah,
so and you can only do what you can do.
But I take you as a person that probably wouldn't let that person stay on long. Do you nip it in the bud? Or are you more like a time heals off?
I want it. Well, so the one thing I feel like I've learned as a business owner over the years, because I do have kind of a bleeding heart, but the first second you think you should fire somebody, you should fire them. Yes. It sounds easy, but in practice, a very difficult thing. Mm-hmm. And I, like you said about you earlier, I second guess myself, because I always want to keep myself in check, but I also am always asking myself the question, did I give this person a sufficient opportunity to thrive in our environment? Did I give them the tools in the way they needed them?
Yeah.
So I really try hard, and sometimes it lasts a little longer than it should, but if you come in and you're, wrecking up my staff.
Yeah.
I'm like, see ya.
Right.
I'm very protective of my staff in that way.
Yeah.
So.
I could see that. It's like all the things. So not only being an attorney, but then running the business and, oh my gosh.
It's a balance, but I'm a Libra, scales of justice, so.
Well.
I should be able to balance it.
Well, and I was going to ask you about that. So how are Aries?
Well, Aries, okay, so we are the complete opposite zodiac sign, you and I. So okay. Aries and Libra are opposite signs, but Aries and Libra get along really well. So because we're go-getters. Yeah. And Aries are just trailblazers. They want to find new, innovative way to do things. They're hustlers. They're stronger personalities. They can tend to be a little selfish sometimes. Ooh. Well, but Libras can tend to be a little overindulgent sometimes. You should see my shopping bill sometimes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But Aries are really good in business. One of our attorneys is an Aries. Okay. But they're direct. They get to the point. And they're good at business deals. Really good at business deals. Libras are very much the same. They just come at it in a less fiery way.
Interesting.
So we come in a more like, we want to make sure everything's balanced, and how can I make sure everything's quote unquote fair. I call it the F word, fair. Oh. In my job, because clients come in, I want to get what's fair. I'm thinking
it's relative.
Yeah. The F word, fair.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic. My significant other is actually an Aries.
Oh, okay.
So awesome. He's a trailblazer business runner, not in the legal field. Hard workers. So, but that's a good combo.
Yeah, that's awesome. Not a Aries Taurus. Ugh. I think we were talking about that earlier. Like, it's the horns, because each of the animals has the horns, so they butt horns, and that it kind of makes sense.
Yep, Taurus are stubborn. So
the most stubborn.
I don't know. Aries are pretty stubborn too,
which is a problem.
Yeah, it can be a problem.
If we have two stubborn people.
Yeah, they can tend to be pretty stubborn people, and very set in their ways, and more homebodies, and
the Tauruses are. Yeah. I could see that too. Yeah, just how we were literally just talking about that. How he could work from home, and I'm like, no, I need to be out there. I need my people.
I know. We joke all the time. My intake specialist and I'm like, we should just start a Zodiac podcast.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
and
fascinating.
It really is fascinating.
And I'd love to learn about it because I really know nothing. So, I mean, I guess
when we're done here today, I'll do your whole chart for you.
Oh, nice. And then just tell me how amazing I am.
Well, yeah, of course.
Oh, wait a minute. We're being self-aware. I forgot.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what else are we?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Holy cow. It was so good to like I said, I knew your personality was amazing, and I just didn't get to meet you in person until now. So that's so special that you took the time out to chat.
Like we were talking about, much better in person.
Yeah, for sure. And your business, it's so great. It's thriving, and I can get it. Like you're a dynamic personality, and so people gravitate towards that.
Well, and I appreciate you having me on, and the others you have on. I think it's really good to keep our community connected
100%.
and help our community get to know in a different way a lot of the people out there.
Well, we're supporting each other and lifting them up in business. And I think I always like to support businesses that I can put a face to a name. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Amber, she's awesome. Like, you totally have to, have to check them out or whatever.
Know the personality, know the work ethic, know what clients they would be good for or not.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you.